Well, greetings everybody, and welcome to another edition of Then, Now and the Future. And today, Marcus and I are going to talk about the overlap between aspects of the work we do. Marcus works in life coaching. I do work in business coaching. And we wanted to look at something about the development of this and how it relates to the general social order, the choices people have in life, and so on. So yeah, Marcus.
Yeah, I think this edition is all about choice through the ages, isn't it? And how choice has changed and how choice has widened and where choice might take us in the future.
Yeah. So we wanted to start with just casting our minds back to the Middle Ages and the kind of choices people, or the range of choice and opportunity people had then, which was of course much more limited. So, a serf, a peasant would just basically, be living off the land. They would be hoping for a good crop, and paying off the landlord, the good deals with their neighbors or whatever. But from generation to generation, for a vast mass of people, the horizons were fairly limited. There was just this way of life just went on from one generation to another. So that's as a stark contrast. And then we have the sort of modern period, the post-feudal period, where you had a rising middle class, grew in size, so a wider range of people, a larger number of people, let's say, or a greater proportion of society had a bit more choice about what they could do. But even then, it was fairly limited or focused to a trade. And we were discussing this before, and we just said, well, probably that went right up into the middle of the 20th century to pre-war, pre-Second World War, that people were, followed the trade of their parents, and things were fairly predictable. And we identified post-war, post-Second World War, as a period when things began to open up, if you like. So bringing opportunities, but also bringing challenges. So we thought we'd look at this aspects of that.
Yeah. So as you say, feudal times, choice was about simply surviving, wasn't it? The choice was quite simple. You had a good crop and you survived and you paid your landlord, or you didn't, and you followed in the footsteps of your parents. And I think it's interesting just to track how that choice has increasingly sort of widened over the years, but you're bringing it sort of a bit more up to date to the pre-war sort of wartime period. Even then, choice was pretty limited. You went into a job and you waited for the person above you to die so that you could get a promotion. It was literally dead man's shoes type of existence. And there's some interesting TV series where you see that sort of thing happening. The promotion was dependent on something happening to the person above you.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. So we now have this completely fluid system where, in a corporation, it's almost expected to move from one corporation to another, on a 2-year cycle or something like that, so it's just come such a long way, hasn't it, from that. And then you have this large number of people who are making their own way, and an increasing number of people who are trying their luck through the whole social media network and so on. We were just looking at this whole coaching phenomena, which is a modern thing. We're part of that ourselves. We somehow found ourselves in this one way or another. And we were looking back and we were saying, well, the period we've been looking at in general is something like from the 70s to the 20s. That's what we've been looking at. But we were saying at the beginning of that period, this wasn't really a function. It wasn't a profession, a widespread profession. But we reckon towards the end of the 20th century, it began to take shape, and really in the last decade, so I don't know how much research there is on this, but it's taken off very recently.
And I can take it back, I suppose, about 50 years. I would have been in my early 20s, and I was made redundant. And I remember either being told about or finding some sort of course to help people retrain or get some help and support in finding a new job. And I went on this course, and it was being run by a youngish guy. And he was doing things like helping with CVs and all the rest of it. And I hired him privately for a few sessions, and he was helping me with confidence. He was helping me with interview techniques. Some of the advice he gave me, I still use it when working with my clients today. He didn't call himself a coach, but that's what he was doing. He was coaching me. So I guess you can take the coaching stuff back sort of 50 plus years or so.
Yes, and of course self-help goes back quite a while, doesn't it? You've got people like Napoleon Hill, Dale Carnegie, this kind of thing. So as we begin to think about, people have been talking about these ideas for quite a while now, and there will have been people who are somehow passing this knowledge and these ideas on. And of course, going back further, we're overlapping with psychological and ultimately spiritual issues. And if we cast our minds back again, right back to the Middle Ages or earlier, obviously it was mostly a religious thing, and the priest or the village spiritual religious leader would be the one who would be helping in this, and then just within the family and so on. But more and more of these functions have become sort of farmed out to.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think it was coaching and counselling and what have you was the purview of the sort of religious leaders or the village elders or whatever. I think the need for coaching, though, has grown simply because life has got so much more complex. It's got busier, it's got faster, it's got more hectic. And I mentioned to you the thing that tends to run through the clients that I work with is confusion. And it's the inability to be able to cut through the fog of their lives and actually sort out what is it that they want to do, where is it that they want to go. And I think equally from your point of view in the business world, things develop so fast and move at such a pace that it's got to be difficult for some businesses to keep track of that, to keep pace with the speed at which things develop.
Yeah. So as you say, it's a rapidly evolving environment, and I think at the heart is what you were talking about, this clarity of purpose. So there's the absolute issue of basic life goals, and then if you've decided on a business as a way of achieving some or all of those goals, then you have to navigate there's a whole range of skills and knowledge that's needed to keep afloat, at least. I think the basic thing to keep afloat, and then above that to actually do very well. That would be the sort of highest goal.
Yeah, it's you don't know what you don't know, and I found that with my public speaking. I in my corporate days, I trained senior politicians and senior managers in media interviewing techniques and presentation skills. I was quite happy to get up on my hind legs, and I thought I know this stuff, but I decided I wanted to broaden my speaking career, and I joined a speaking club. And then you find out that there's a whole bunch of stuff you didn't know. And I think it must be like that in business. You might have a great business idea, but you don't know all the other skills.
Well, that's it. I mean, it's not taught at school. It's not taught at school how to run a business, I mean, so people will just think, oh, I'll sort that out. I'll go and work for a company. But really, there are so many issues involved in it. And it's one thing to be an expert, and to know your trade, your craft, your skill, whatever it is. But it's another to run a business with employees and attached issues. So yeah, and of course it's this choice. As you have something of this expression, the tyranny of choices that comes to this sort of, you know, in modern life, there are just so many things you can do, but the challenge is you've got to do something. And so I suppose sort of one of the questions we're looking at today is, you know, how much more difficult that is sticking to something when there's so much choice going on.
Yeah, and I think the Second World War, for me, looking back, I see as a bit of a watershed in terms of individual choice and development. I think up until then, there was still an element of you followed in your parents' footsteps, and you know, choices were quite limited. Post-war, I think there was this desire of people for their children to not have to go through the deprivations that they went through, to have a life that was better and more fulfilled, and had a wider amount of choice. And I think they were then busy starting to push their children towards going to college and university, you know, to have careers. I know for myself, I wasn't, quote, clever enough to go to university, but that didn't matter. My parents said you can do whatever you want as long as it's a trade or a profession, something that had a career path, something that was fairly solid, something that perhaps had a pension at the end of it. And I went into journalism, which really didn't fit any of those bills in quite that way. But you know, I think the Second World War was a bit of a watershed from the choice point of view.
Yes, yes. So I think people were more comfortable after that, you know, with this whole thing. So how much more difficult is it then now? Do you think this is a major source of stress? The fact that people can do, in theory, you can do what you want, but of course in practice that's not true. But sort of in theory, the world's your oyster.
Yeah, I feel quite sorry for young people these days, to be honest, because the rise of social media, while on the one hand has made communication so much easier, is also a bit of a bane, because now I think for a lot of young people it's about instant fame, instant recognition. It's quite sad when you talk to some people and you say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they say famous.
Yeah.
You know, so it's all about fame. It's all about, you know, sort of recognition. It's
yeah. There was even a song, wasn't it? When will I be famous? I don't know if you're familiar with that. When will my picture be in the papers?
Yeah, and I think that's why there's a bit of a need for coaches these days, because it is about personal development. I think a lot of people, if we're going to be serious, because obviously, you know, I think it's a bit of a broad brush to say that young people just want to be famous. But I think there is a recognition by a lot of people around self-development. They're aware that, you know, they may not have had a lot of opportunities when they were at school or in the education system for whatever reason, but that doesn't mean that you can't improve when you get older. And I think for a lot of people, having a coach is around clarifying what is it that they want, what is it they aspire to, how can they get there. I mean, I work as a volunteer coach for Business Wales and the Prince's Trust, and for me that's about helping young people who have got that sort of mindset. They have got a business idea and they just need some help and support making that happen.
Yeah, that's it. So I would agree, of course, that, you know, not everybody wants to be famous, but it is a sort of, it's there in the background, and it's a sort of, it sort of colors things, doesn't it? That you can have, or you can have this sort of medium fame. It's not necessarily a sort of world fame, but you can rise to some sort of level. And this might be not necessarily in the best interests of just doing something useful. Yeah. Where does it all lead? What is it? Is it taking us down a wrong path, perhaps?
I don't know. There's a bit of an Alice in Wonderland feel to sort of some of the, some of the social media type things. But no, I mean, I think social media, used correctly, is fantastic. I think the speed at which technology is developing is amazing. I mean, you can get apps now that will write essays of thousands of words for you, from a brief description, which is a former journalist I find quite scary, but I think it's great that people have so much choice, that they're not limited, that they aren't living a world which is cloistered and closed in and suffocating. I think it's great that we can have horizons which are as wide as you want them to be, and that you have got that amount of choice. It's about how you sensibly use that choice. I think how you don't waste those opportunities, because you've got so much choice, you can spend a lot of time trying to decide what is it that I want to do. I've got so much choice. It's like being in a sweet shop and not knowing what sweet you want.
Yeah. So we need to help people to get the right balance, really, between making the most of choice, but finding the things in their circumstances which will keep them to keep them on in one direction to actually achieve something.
And that's what you and I do. I mean, you from a business point of view, me from a personal social point of view. It's about having amazing conversations with people. From a business point of view, you might not know where the potential is that you can take your business because you don't know what's available to you. And in the same way with my clients, it's about having amazing conversations about challenging belief systems, challenging self-limiting beliefs that might be holding them back without them realizing it. And I think you and I do exactly that. We have amazing conversations with people that help them clarify exactly where it is that they want to be going, and then you can decide how you're going to get there. I think I gave you an analogy earlier, but whatever has been invented, you've got to know what you want it to do and what you want it to look like. How's this thing going to work? And once you have a very clear picture, then you can start making the process to develop it. The picture has to come before the process. And I think you and I help people clarify that.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things we do. We have a vision class, let's say, or vision development session. And we actually go through it and we ask them to look at every aspect of their business, how they imagine it in 3 years' time. So from pretty well every aspect. And that's an amazing thing. Once you can see the kind of business you want, then you can start working towards it.
Yeah. And it's that step-by-step process that you take people through. Which is why I think, sort of looking to the future, there is a need for people like you and I. There is a need to do a bit of hand-holding, but in the nicest possible way, and to help people just achieve what they didn't think was possible for them. And when you've got a future where you can achieve something that you didn't think was possible, then job done for us, I think.
Yeah, that's it. We help people along that way. That's great. Great, Marcus. Well, there we are. So we've
problem solved.
So, so there we go. So that was a nice little topic, and we'll carry on with something interesting again next time.
Yep. And as always, I enjoy our chats. I think it's great, sort of just, sharing our thoughts and views and our experiences. And we'll do it all again next week.
Yeah, sure thing. Okay, well, thanks everybody for tuning in, and see you next time.
And as always, if any thoughts, observations, please share them with us.
Yes, please do. Yeah,
Thanks,
cheers.
Peter.
Bye.